So the Dan Buettner formula for longevity would be, I can help you get to your mid-90s largely without chronic disease and with a lot more money in your bank account because you're not spending on healthcare by not trying too hard to change your behavior, but to shape your environment to engineer your unconscious behavior, not your conscious behavior. So that would be my stump speech. How about what's yours?
We're so incredibly aligned on it. The definition of biohacking, which is a new word in the English language, it's the art and science of changing the environment around you and inside of you so you have full control of your biology and your state. And we're changing our environment with unconscious things that affect you. And that's why you see people wearing true dark glasses, or they're changing their light exposure because it's an environmental variable.
That's a great example, by the way.
Yeah.
So the light you're receiving is different than the light I'm receiving. What happens when you wear those yellow glasses?
These glasses, and not all yellow will do this, these block only half of the spectrum of blue light. So at 400...
Can I try them on?
Yeah. At 490 nanometers and below, it creates mitochondrial stress. Those look good on you.
Do I look like a biohacker now?
Yeah, you do.
Love it. And that somehow protects melatonin, or what are the...
It turns out blocking under 490 protects the cells in your eyes from excessive stress, which creates brain stress and creates brain fog.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So during the day, you need blue light. This is why blue blockers are actually bad for you. Because during the day, you get no wake-up signal. But if you get a huge wake-up signal, including unnatural spectrums of blue, you don't feel good. So I started True Dark, this company, about 12 years ago when I was trying to figure out, why do these new LED lights make me feel awful at the end of the day? So I engineered this solution. And the problem is, at nighttime, I used to wear blue blockers, but there's 4 other colors of light that also affect your sleep. So blue blocking isn't enough at night. And if you go to my house today, at nighttime, it's all red lights, because dim red lights don't affect your sleep at all. They're invisible to your biology.
Oh, my.
But these white lights we have at night truly are a massive change, even in the last 20 years, because they're different types of light. So I look at light and food as both nutrients, and darkness is also a nutrient. So we're changing our environment so we have better circadian signaling so we can live longer.
And how long do you think we can live?
Well, we know that our current best is about 120, right? So that's proven. We have historical documents where people talk about living to 185 in India, 400 in the Bible, 969 for Methuselah. That was a long time ago, and who knows if they even measured time the same way. So we can ignore those. What that means is that I have 100 additional years to do 50% better than our current best. I have AI. I have PubMed. I have the Human Genome Project. We know what mitochondria are and how they behave. And we have antibiotics. Oh, and we have every technology innovation, because 100 years ago, we didn't have any of that. World War I was fought with biplanes and horses. I mean, we're living in a different world than our current record holder. So with all those innovations and the fact that I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth, I've had gene therapy that increases follistatin levels, and the average person gets 9 years younger epigenetically. The other part of my bet is that we can measure whether what we're doing works, because we've invented these aging clocks that say, well, compared to everyone else, how's your DNA methylation? So there's a chance I'll get hit by a truck. There's a chance one of my experiments will go wrong. But I'm pretty sure, given the innovation happening in our space, that there are enough people working on enough of the different many variables of aging that we can, at least some of us, may already be at that point of living 150, 180, 200 years.
I would agree with you that the pace of discovery is such that something will likely come along for sure in our lifetime, and maybe even sooner than that. But we still have seemingly the limitation of the human machine. And most mammals live about 2.5 times the age of procreation. So you get to the age where you can have offspring, and then it multiply by 2.5. And whether you're a mouse or an elephant or a human in between, that's sort of the set point for biology. We have about 37 trillion cells in our body, each one of which undergo about 2 million chemical processes per second. And the idea that we're going to somehow systematically intervene with all 37 trillion, it just seems mind-boggling. And there's no, we talk about metformin and rapamycin and NAD plus and stem cells, and they all maybe do some good in this tiny little piece of real estate on a map the size of the United States, which is the human aging processes. And I'm just not seeing a drug or intervention on the scientific horizon yet that will govern 37 trillion cells and all those chemical processes.
Because I have the computer hacker brain, I came into systems biology after learning network engineering and all. We know that there are signaling networks within the body, and there are things that control timing. So there's a central aging clock in the hippocampus, and then there are peripheral aging clocks and cellular aging clocks. So we don't necessarily need to change every single cell. We need to tell the cells what to do, and then they'll all do it at the same time. So this is a signaling problem. It's kind of like in the old days of your computer. If you didn't want to pay for your software license, just change the date on the clock, and then the software license keeps working. You could just make it another year. I don't know if you ever did that. I did in college. So
we won't tell the software.
Sorry, Microsoft.
Dave owes you $8 million.
Exactly. So what we're looking at doing is saying, how do mitochondria talk to each other? And what we have learned that goes back to circadian biology, and to a certain extent, even back to the values of community that we both really share as an important variable, is that roughly 5% of the cells in the retina of your eye have melanopsin sensors. And these do not go into the visual cortex. They go into the timing clock in the brain. So now we know what are the keys that unlock those cells to tell your body that it's daytime or nighttime. So I could see, I'm just making this up, but I could see a drug that entirely blocks or modifies those so your body thinks only a day passed when 7 days passed. I don't know that would work, but there's so many ways of telling the body that your duty cycle is much longer than 2.5 years. And part of my meditation and part of the way I celebrate my birthday, which actually happened about 4 days ago.
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Dave.
It was my 28.5% birthday.
So you're 112 now, or?
I'm 35, or I'm dyslexic, which would make it 53. So on the calendar, I'm 53. But I celebrate my birthdays in percentage of duty cycle, because I do believe that your mind does communicate with the body. I also believe the body communicates much more with the mind than we give it credit for. So I do my best to have tons of mitochondria energy, to have appropriate but not excessive free radical formation, and to keep my toxin level low, and to keep my hormones like that of a young person. And I do neurofeedback. And I've even opened up my blood-brain barrier with ultrasound and introduced stem cells into my brain to reset my central aging clock by about 20 years, which lowers immune function. I'm about to go get my 3rd dose of gene therapy. The first 2 are follistatin. The other one that's coming up is something called VEGF, which increases microcapillary growth throughout the body. And you want that for blood flow. And at this point, I know I have the crappiest genetics ever. I have all sorts of different things that don't work normally, but they're all addressed because I measured it.
So if you like that clip, there's a lot more where that came from. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you won't miss our new videos as they come out each week.